Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdale, video producer. I'm a Christian. Today I'm putting on my scientific cap from an article I read just recently. It's about the amazing mustard plant. What would be amazing about a mustard plant? Well, some researchers in Zurich, I believe it is, University of Zurich, decided to work with this plant. And one of the reasons they did that is it's a fast cycling plant from reproduction from life to death. It goes through its life cycle rather quickly. By doing that, you could observe generations of plants over a short period of time. And these researchers were looking for information that would support the theory of evolution. And that's really what they were after. And it was interesting what they found, that when the plant in its normative state was being pollinated by bees, the generation seemed to develop a larger, maybe more fragrant blossoms. So more robust. Their reproductive construction improved. So by being pollinated by bees, it was like a friendly relationship that was causing a change in the plant, in the flowers mainly, in the blossoms, producing these larger blossoms. That's kind of interesting. I suppose you could make some jokes out of that, but this effect of pollinators improving the plant's looks and condition were affected by what's known as herbivory activity on the plant. In other words, caterpillars attacking the plant, or leaf-eating caterpillars. Well, so after they did the test with the bees, they did a test with caterpillars. Well, the plant started producing a toxic substance that would resist the caterpillars in some form. And so the plant seemed to develop these things from what would be called a selectionism pressure from nature. So they had this development of resistance or acceptance to nature around them that caused them to improve or in some way. But one of the things that happened when the bees and the caterpillars were on the same plant, well, the plants kind of took a middle of the road approach. The blossoms would get smaller and not be as reproductive, and then it would have a certain amount of this toxic substance that would resist the caterpillars. So it had kind of a middle of the road reaction to the environment that was creating this pressure. So their study shows the importance of the interactive effects in the evolution of diversity. Now that's what they say. If the combination of selective agents changes, for example, a loss of habitat or climate change or a decline in pollinators, triggers a rapid evolutionary change in plants. I think that's that was their point of this, that it was showing rapid evolution. The environmental changes caused by humans may affect the evolutionary fate of many organisms. That was one of their questions. What is it? What are we doing to the planet, basically? And of course, it has implications in terms of ecosystem stability, loss of biodiversity, food safety. Understanding these mechanisms has never been more important than it is now, says Florian. I'm just going to say one of the researchers. I can't handle the name. Anyway, so it brings up some questions in this research. And that's what I was asking questions. The plant seemed to utilize regulated innate mechanisms to produce a rapid, highly tailored response to the presence of bees and leaf-eating caterpillars, and the combined activities of both simultaneously. So they were experimenting with 4 different conditions: bees only, caterpillars only, caterpillars and pollination, and hand pollination without caterpillars, and hand pollination with caterpillars. So they were trying everything to see what would happen. And and you've heard what happened. The plants reacted to it. Now, plant behaviors, even structural changes, were also observed in happening rapidly across generations. Plants exposed to these different environmental changes caused them to adapt, if you will. And that's what seems to be an argument between those who see everything as having evolved from a single cell to, say, this plant, and those who believe that it was created. And that's where the argument's at. And what do we have here? I look at this as an individual person, and I see this evidence of things adapting. And that's what's confusing to me. When they talk about selectionism, and actually that doesn't represent, from what I can see in the definition, an individual plant or animal. It's the group changing under these pressures. That seems kind of strange. If you can affect a group somewhere in the environment and then they all change, and then it changes worldwide, that seems kind of extreme. I guess, and their point is with deep time it could happen. So what's really going on here? Is it possible that the plants have innate abilities already built in them? So whatever happens, the bees show up plentifully and no herbivore effect is pressing on them, and they develop this reproduction abilities increase, the blossoms increase, to attract more bees, to pollinate more, to have more plants. But if they're attacked by caterpillars, they emit this toxic substance that resists the caterpillar. And when they have both, it falls somewhere in between. So it shows that the plant is changing to its environment, whatever it is. And the question I ask, is it already in the plant? Is it innate? If we observe it from a human engineering perspective. Excuse me. To engineer something, you have to have something in this thing you're engineering that can detect one thing or the other. Bees, caterpillars, it has to be able to detect it. And then it has to be able to have the ability to adapt and then do whatever it's got to do to affect things around it. And if that's already innate, if it's already in the plant, if it already has the ability to do this quickly, we're not talking hundreds, thousands, millions of years. We're talking about something that took place in a month, months, days, as quick cycling as this plant is. Then didn't it have to be inside that plant already? And if it was inside that plant already, how did it get there? And that's what I'm saying. This looks engineered to me. I think the thing that I would say was missing is what happened to the bee pollinated only plant that became more robust. If you let it sit over time, did it change at all? What other type of environmental experiments could you try? Temperature changes, for one. But the world is an extremely complicated place. You think you change that temperature, you're going to change the caterpillar's behavior, you're going to change the bee's behavior, you're going to change the plant's behavior. Very complicated things are going to happen. We don't know what's going on down inside the soil when you change that. It's a complicated thing. So really my question comes down, is it a possibility that everything already has the ability to adapt to environmental changes, to environmental niches, and to be able to survive and thrive within that environment, an environmental niche? If they already have that ability, where did it come from? So there you are. A new scientific test, new questions to ask, and things to learn. Right now where I live, there's a lot of these mustard plants in the hills growing up really rapidly, and the bees are pollinating, and the caterpillars are, well, like the caterpillars are eating up my tomato plants now. You give me something that'll fix those buggers, I'll be happy. But anyway, there's some questions for the day. I'm Tim Linsdale. Like and commenting on my videos. Subscribe to my channel. Go out there and enjoy the spring and those flowers out there and just have a great day.